The United Nations has issued a stark warning the Middle East is on the edge of a wider war after the United States bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Speaking at an Emergency Security Council session in New York, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction and urged leaders to choose diplomacy over destruction.
The bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. And yet, we now risk descending into a rat hole of retaliation after retaliation. We face a stark choice. One path leads to wider war, deeper human suffering, and serious damage to the international order. The other leads to de-escalation, diplomacy, and dialogue. We know which path is right, and I urge this Council and all Member States to act with reason, restraint, and urgency.
The Strait of Hormuz, vital for our fuel imports, is once again under threat. Iran's parliament has openly supported measures to block the waterway. UN officials also raised concern over non-state actors. The Houthis in Yemen and armed groups in Iraq have threatened to attack US targets if escalation continues. Meanwhile, the International Atomic Energy Agency stressed that its inspectors must be allowed safe access to the bombed Iranian sites. Without it, global nuclear safeguards could unravel. At the Council, global powers traded blame. Russia condemned the US action as illegal aggression.
Россия самым решительным образом осуждает безответственные, опасные и провокационные действия, совершенные Соединенными Штатами Америки против Исламской Республики Иран, суверенного государства, члена Организации Объединенных Наций. Вашингтон в очередной раз продемонстрировал полное пренебрежение к позиции международного сообщества и подтвердил, что ради интересов своего израильского союзника он готов не только закрывать глаза на убийство десятков тысяч палестинских женщин, детей и стариков, но и поставить на карту безопасность и благополучие всего человечества.
Iran's ambassador said Washington had sacrificed global peace to defend Israel.
We appreciate all those members who have chosen to stand on the right side of history and thus strongly condemned the act of aggression of the United States and the Israeli regime against my country. America has once more recklessly chosen to sacrifice its own security merely to safeguard Netanyahu. Once again, the world has witnessed the blatant corruption of the US political system and its leaders. As an independent, peace-seeking nation, the Islamic Republic of Iran had repeatedly warned the warmongering US regime to refrain from stumbling into this quagmire. Even though Iran reserves its full and legitimate right under international law to defend itself against this blatant US aggression and its Israeli proxy. The United States, a permanent member of this Council, the depositary of the NPT, and the only state that has ever used nuclear weapons, murdering millions in 2 cities, has now once again resorted to illegal force, waged a war against my country under a fabricated and absurd pretext, preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
But the US insisted it acted in self-defense against what it calls the imminent threat of a nuclear Iran. Ambassador Dorothy Shea echoed President Trump's warning any Iranian retaliation will be met with force.
The time finally came for the United States, in the defense of its ally and in the defense of our own citizens and interest, to act decisively. The Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. Let us be clear. Iran should not escalate. As President Trump said, any Iranian attack, direct or indirect, against Americans or American bases will be met with devastating retaliation.
And Israel's envoy praised the strikes as brave, claiming they removed the world's greatest security threat.
In the last 24 hours, history changed. The United States of America struck Iran's nuclear sites at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. was a necessary act and a brave decision to remove the greatest threat to global security. The world and the Security Council should say clearly and without hesitation, thank you. Thank you to the United States and President Trump for acting when others would not.
As the rhetoric heats up, the region brace for the fallout, economic, strategic, and human. We'll keep tracking what happens next, especially in the Strait of Hormuz.